and he set him in the midst of them and said, surely I say to you, unless you convert it and become as a little child. Stop right there. The first thing he says is that you can't understand salvation. If you don't understand the mind of a child, you don't understand salvation, nor can you get it. He says, unless you be humbled like a little child, unless you come to the realization of your own total impotence, your inability to do anything to please God in and of yourself, unless you come to the realization that you are totally dependent upon someone else for your salvation, just as a child is totally dependent upon their parent for provision of clothes, of food, and shelter, until you come to that point, you can't understand salvation, nor can you get it. This is powerful. He says, maybe, he's saying to them, he says, maybe y'all not even saved in the first place. Because maybe you've never come to that point where you were totally humbled and broken before God, and you realize your utter inability to do anything for yourself other than to cry out to God to have mercy. Are y'all listening to me? Unless you're converted and become little children, you are by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. That's number one. Kids help us to understand what it takes to be saved. In their humility, in their vulnerability, you see. In their lack of resources, we learn what it takes to be saved. Secondly, he says, therefore, whoever humbles himself as this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. So he says, true greatness is bestowed upon those who know that they're not great and that they're undeserving of greatness. And that greatness is a gift that God bestows in his kingdom. So he teaches about salvation. It teaches about true greatness, and it can be learned by observing children. So what Jesus is doing, he's trying to get these disciples to understand that in all of your busyness and your hurriedness to build the kingdom of God, to advance God's kingdom, to win the mass of souls to Christ, don't forget that the way you have the greatest impact is how you impact children. Because it doesn't matter what you build, children can tear down stuff fast, you can build it. People spend their lifetime building a fortune, neglect their children, then spend all their money trying to keep the kids out of jail. Spend the money trying to get the kids from one rehab program to the next. Thirdly, he says, whoever receives one little child like this in my name receives me. So he says the ministry to children teaches us about salvation. It teaches us about greatness. It also teaches us about what it really takes to receive Christ and to minister to him. And then fourthly, but whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it will be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were drowned in the depths of the sea. Fourthly, it teaches us about the consequence for abusing children. Remember what I told you that Thomas Jefferson said when he was talking about slavery? He said, if there's a God in heaven, then we're going to pay for this. If there's a God in heaven, then we as a nation are going to pay for what's happening to children in this country. We're going to pay for it. And the people who committed these brutal, atrocious, horrific acts against them are going to pay. And as a society, if we were indifferent, what did Jesus say? What did James say? To him who know to do good and do it not is sin. It's not merely the fact that we don't abuse kids, we don't molest kids, we don't sell kids drugs, we don't put kids on the street to do prostitution. We shouldn't do that, and we don't do that. But do we try to do something about those that do? And do we advocate for policy that will address issues like that? That's what it means to love the least that are among us. So fourthly, it teaches us about judgment. People think they're getting away. We're not going to get away. We are not going to get away. And I'll share with you what I believe. And I might be wrong, and y'all all might be right. But I believe the judgment is going to come to this nation. And the instrument of judgment that's going to be used against this nation are going to be the very children themselves. They're going to rise up and kill us. They're bitter, they're angry, they're disconnected, they haven't been nurtured, they have access to firearms, they have access to weapons. Look at this young man. He wasn't born in Al-Qaeda. He's raised right here. Look at what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. Do you see how dangerous it is when you live in a free society